Well, hello everybody. Welcome to the Lunch Club of Asian Ignite. So I'm so excited to be here. If you guys are watching me live, please make sure to comment below live so that other people can join us. If not, you can, if you're watching this on a replay, please make sure to put a replay. And if you have any questions or comments, then I'll be more than happy to answer them by the end of the presentation. If you watch any of the videos I've been doing lately, you'll notice that we've been speaking a lot about uh, how to sell, and more particularly, what the topic we want to talk about is the objections. That's what was the topic of this week. Is the objections that we receive and how we want to translate them and decode them. So generally, in any sales, as you know, there are objections and pushbacks. The problem is that we need to have tools to be able to decode these objections. So it is important to understand. I'm just going to do an overview of what I mentioned yesterday, and then we can move on into the topic of today, which is the trust engine. Because yesterday I didn't cover it, so I thought today it should be a good idea to do so. So the idea is that once somebody gives us an objection, we need to understand first that there are two kind of objections. There is an objection and there's a complaint. An objection is something that stops the sales process and needs to be addressed. If you don't address it, you won't be able to continue the conversation, the sales call, because it's just going to be stalled. And the complaint, it's just a need for a person, any person for that matter, who you speak to. Everybody has a feeling they want to be heard, or they want to complain a little bit or whine. So it's something that you need to deal with by just saying, I understand what you're saying. I have been in the same shoes for a long time. And today I can assure you that you'll be able to go over it with blah, blah, blah. So that's the difference between the complaint and an objection. So we want to make sure every time we are hearing a pushback, we need to say to ourselves, what is this? Is this an objection or is it a complaint? Now, an objections happen to fall under one of the following patterns. And I called this yesterday the chain of action, because it's literally a chain of action. And I'll show you in a minute. So, and we spoke yesterday about the fact that once an objection is formulated, it is generally under one of these three categories. It is either a vehicle objection, it is an internal objection, or it is an external objection. It doesn't matter what industry you are in, it doesn't matter what you sell. Every time there's an objection, it's basically under one of these categories. And our job is to understand what is it that they are trying to address, or to make sure that they feel comfortable about, and we need to come up with the right counter argument to address those objections. Generally, I mentioned yesterday how it is very easy to go to overcome an objection that is related to vehicle, because it's only a matter of doing a quick demo and showing the client, or demo or testimonial for that matter, and showing the client that actually our product speak for itself. If it's an internal, that's the hardest part of the three objections, because it's something related to the person and who he think he is at its core. That's how he was raised, and that's the belief system that he was downloaded into his system since his childhood. Therefore, it is very hard to change the internal, but we can try by changing the internal objection by proving to them that this works actually, and you give proof about that. And the external is generally related to resources, and it's all about money, time. I need to speak to my partner's spouse and stuff like that. And this, you can cut all this by at the very beginning of the conversation. You qualify them by saying, is there anybody who's important to make a decision, and then you want to make sure that you bring them inside the conversation. These are the three objections. So you see how objections is translated into can be translated into a category that it's a false belief that our client happens to believe in. This false belief happens to be stored in our system not as an idea, but it's generally as a story. For example, if you are somebody who is Gen X like me and who thinks he's not good with tech, then you're always going to say, well, I always say, well, I'm just not good with tech. I have some challenges with tech. So because I was not born into internet, I was maybe 20 years or so when internet showed up. So that's why it's hard for somebody to sway me and bring me to believe that I can challenge myself and become good in tech, in everything techie. And but if they happen to have a good solution, why not? So that's what I'm trying to say, is that all the objections are related to certain false belief. That false belief happen to be stored in our system through a story that we tell ourselves. And that story, that's what controls us. And that's why every time we want to change a false belief, we need to change it through a story, not through an idea or product, because the product is all the same. Everybody is selling the same product, but not everybody is selling the same story. Therefore, if we can change the story, then we can change everything. And here we're going to stop and ask, how are we going to be able to change the story? Well, we change the story because we can control the content. And this is why the conversation for today and the live for today is important, because that's what we're going to be talking about, how content actually works at a personal level and why it works the way it does. Then once we use the content, then we use the trust engine content system that we are going to be talking about today. And that's how things works and things happen to function. One of the tools that we use in order to activate the trust content and to make it so much easier on us is by using Agent Ignite, because it's something that is tailored to your need, who you happen to be, which is a salesman or life insurance agent or financial advisor. So this is the overall idea of what we've been talking about for the since Monday. Today, I would like to share with you the trust engine and how this trust engine plays a major role in the way we do business. So this trust engine is generally important, and you need the right AI for it, since right now everybody is using AI. So you need exactly the right AI that gonna help you generate this is by doing the following. Content, which is a value capturing, an awareness creation, and attention grabbing. That's what content is. Content is immensely important because it can be in a form of video, it can be a guide, PDF. It doesn't matter what kind of content it is. What matters is the quality and the diversity of content, because every time you put the same kind of content, you are causing some fatigue in the market. So you want to diverse, not only you want to diverse, but you want also to play around how the human brain perceives information and perceives you in the process. And that's why once we put a piece of content that speaks about a value, then the next day we put a piece of content that speaks about a belief shifting post. The next day we put a piece of content that speaks about a lifestyle post, about something personal we just encounter. And the fourth day we put a piece of content that speaks about a lead generation post. Then on Friday, it's easy to get people raise their hand and say, I'm curious, how do you go about doing that? And at that moment, at that particular moment, when you put that lead gen content and somebody raises their hand, it's at that moment that person is considered to become a lead, and that's why we can use and turn that lead into a sales call, because it's easy. Now we know where they are coming from. They were the one who come to us. The dynamic has completely shifted. So now we can turn things around and move that conversation smoothly into a place where we can ask them key questions, present them with questionnaires, then ask them for make them an offer. So that's how content works in a nutshell. The second area of content is pain articulation, and pain articulation comes through being able to put it into your content, but also it comes because of the personal implication that we happen to have with our client, with our prospects. Since we are putting content that speaks to our audience, then we are building unseen bonds with our audience that's going to develop, and that's going to allow us to start conversations without even people without even thinking that we are in the sales process, because we are, if they engage with a post and say, I like this, you've been in New York, I just been last week, that's a starter of a conversation that has absolutely nothing to do with the sales. So it's a personal conversation that can turn, eventually evolves into sales call. But at the beginning, that's what makes content so powerful, because it can start from anywhere and turn into a sales call. And that's why pain articulation is powerful, because once we know, we ask the right questions, we start conversations, we ask the right questions, or we put those pain issues inside our content, and people act on it and engage on it, then the conversation is easier, and people are willing to tell you what they have in their mind. And there is a quote in a book called Play Bigger, where the author says something that is extremely important. He says, I'm gonna paraphrase, if you can articulate the problem of your audience better than they can do, they basically assume that you know the answers for these questions, and therefore they won't resist the fact of you help them. That's something around that. So this is very important. And that's why inside the Agent Ignite, before we do anything, we do two things. We research who is our dream customer, and we make a list of our pain points that our market has. And that's how we're going to be able to hit them on a daily basis with a different topic that is in a different angle, that going to helps us move beyond just business and speak about different aspects of life. So I hope that makes sense. Please, if you have any questions, make sure to put them below. The following pillar is the accountability system. And here, since we have now access to something that can do the diagnosis for us, then we only gonna give those numbers to the AI, and the AI will do the rest. I used to put all my information, all my KPIs, I used to put them key performance indicators. I used to put them daily on an Excel sheet, and at the end of the week or the day, whatever, then I go back to them and I judge and I see where I have a problem, and then I can go back and address it the following week. What happened now is that once you are able to feed your AI on a daily basis key performance indicators of how many invite friend requests you sent, how many conversations you had, how many sales calls you booked, how many sales calls you had, all this information. There are 8 key performance indicators. Once you are able to feed that information on a daily basis to your AI will tell you exactly by the end of the week or 2 weeks or a month, will check your information and tells you exactly, you have an issue here, you need to address the invitation message, or you need to address the sales closing, or you need to address this or that. So you have 8 key metrics, and it's easier to adjust one at a time. We don't go and adjust all of them. No, we go when we adjust one at a time. That's how within a month or so, we have the 8 KPI that are all enhanced, that are all responsive. And from there, it's easier to move smoothly. Not only that, it's easier to go back and enhance each one at a time. So until you reach the point where you feel comfortable and your number speaks for themselves. So I hope that makes sense. Yesterday I sent an email. No, today I sent an email actually regarding this diagnosis. If you happen to be in my list, you'll have examples of that. And finally, we want to make sure that we are consistent, because consistency translates into trust and familiarity, and know, like, and trust. Consistency is the key. If you post one day and you forget about it for the next month, automatically your impact will not have any impact. You will not have any impact. However, if you are posting for 90 days on a daily basis or 3 times a week, then you have something concrete that you can rely on, so that you can go back, diagnose, and make sure that you are on the right track. Not only that, once you become consistent, people start seeing you. And people, most of the time, we confuse familiarity with trust. And everybody thinks that familiarity is trust just because we saw somebody. And that's why the movie stars, they are what they are, because we see them on movies over and over again. And the minute you see him on the streets or her on the streets, it feels like you know these people, but they are just playing roles. And you were by your brain, you were thought by your brain that this is something real. I know this person. So that's why it is very important that we keep the consistency high, because the consistency plays a major role in turning just regular interactions and regular presence in the life of our audience into trust and familiarity, and into the know and like, and all the psychological bonds that happen because of that. So I will stop right here. If you guys have any questions, please put them below. I'd love to answer them. And I hope that the micro. No, it's working, because the last time I have the microphone off and I wait for the whole video, and at the end I find out that the microphone was off. Okay, so if you have any questions, please put them in the comments below. And if you need to join our email lists, please make sure to comment below. I will reach out to you and you can send it to me. But also, I just posted earlier that I'm preparing a workshop around 3 major key questions. You can refer to the post. It's on my page right here on LinkedIn. So if you are interested, please make sure to comment on that post and tell me exactly which topic you'd like to know more about, because if you want, I can go back and check those topics, but I don't want to waste your time. So you tell me which topics you want to hear about, and I'll be more than happy to get something going and talk about it. All right, have a great day and see you soon. Bye-bye.